Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to review the Eachine Lizard105s micro quadcopter. In this video I'm going to go through its features, show you how to set it up and take it for a test flight. You can get this quadcopter in three versions, either in FR Sky, Fly Sky or a DSM-2 or DSM-X version. The one I've got is the Fly Sky version. Normally I get the FR Sky, but it was unavailable, so Banggood sent me the Fly Sky version. In addition, it features an onboard DVR that records 720p video at 60 frames per second and an Omnibus F4 flight controller. So let's start by opening the box and see everything we get inside. Inside the box we get in the instructions manual, which is pretty thorough and tells you how to configure the quadcopter and bind your relevant receiver. In addition, we get in the quadcopter, which already comes with its propellers on, and I highly recommend you to remove them before configuring the quadcopter in order to prevent accidents. We also getting one set of propeller guards, which I'm not going to bother with, screws for the propellers, a 4S 550 mAh 60C lipo battery from Eachine, one set of spare propellers and extra screws for the motors, and finally we also get in a hex key and a screwdriver. So let's have a look at the quadcopter itself. First of all, it features 1104 6000 kV motors which can handle up to 4S lipo batteries. On the front we can find a CMOS camera which is connected to a DVR, so you will have to use an SD card if you want to record the onboard video, and you can find here an SD card slot which is not very easy to handle, and you will have to use a tweezer in order to insert the card and also to take it off. And it records video at 720p at 60 frames per second, which should be pretty impressive. The camera itself supports both PAL and NTSC, and if you want to switch between the modes, you will have to press this key while connecting a battery, and then it's going to switch between NTSC and PAL. This button also double acts as the record and stop button, and after you will connect the battery, it will start recording the DVR, and if you press it again, it's going to stop the recording procedure. On the top, we can find the receiver. This is the Fly Sky compatible receiver. I'm going to use this quadcopter with my jumper multi-protocol transmitter. In order to bind this version with the jumper, you will have to go into model menu, model setup, set the model on FHDS2A, hit bind, and just connect the battery while pressing this button over here. You can see we have two buttons. One is the up data button and the second one is the bind button, so use this button on top. And if you have the other versions, all you have to do is just to follow the instructions manual, which is pretty clear, and you're going to be good to go. Underneath the receiver we can find the VTX, which supports 48 channels, and in addition it has a selectable output strength on the paper between 25 and 200 milliwatts. I'm saying on the paper because I didn't find a way to switch between the modes. Changing the channel and band is done through this button, which is located on the center. It's pretty big and is easy to press. Short pressing it is going to change the channel. The right top LED indicator is 1, and then it goes all the way to 8. And if you're going to long press it for about 3 seconds, only after you release the button, it's going to change the band. The right bottom LED indicator is A, then B, C, D, E, and F, and just use this band and channel table in order to set up your favorite band and channel. Under the DVR unit, we can find an Omnibus F4 flight controller, which comes pre-flashed with Betaflight 3.2.0, and under it, we can find a 28 ampere BLLES 4-in-1 ESC controller. On the back, we can find the buzzer and LED unit, which comes detached. I recommend to use some hot glue in order to make sure it's going to be secured, otherwise it can hit the propellers. And finally, this quadcopter is using this interesting antenna from RelayCC. I actually just got it separately and I haven't tested it yet, so I'm looking forward to see how it's going to perform on this quadcopter. Now these propellers are the RacerStar 2435 propellers, and in my experience these propellers get bent pretty easily, so I recommend to get at least one more set of these propellers. The frame itself looks like a mini version of the RelayCC Real 1MS frame, so the design is pretty interesting. The thickness of these side plates is about 1.5 millimeters, and the base of the quadcopter is secured with these aluminum parts. The thickness of the arm plates is about 2.2 millimeters, and the weight of the quadcopter without the battery is 86.6 grams, and after adding the included 4S 550 mAh lipo battery, the weight is 146 grams. I've already told you what is the first thing that you should do after receiving this quadcopter, and it is to take off the propellers in order to prevent injuries and accidents. The second thing that you should do is to remove this camera. Be careful with this ribbon plate cable. And what you should do is to remove this plastic part gently and then place some foam inside the sides of the camera. And the reason you should do that is if you're not going to do so, the camera is going to wobble inside its case and it's going to produce vibrations. I would like to thank Albert Kim for discovering this issue and for solving it. He had lots of issues with his quadcopter. He took it apart, used another frame, different motors I think, but eventually found out that the reason for the vibrations was actually from the camera itself. And after you're going to add some foam on the sides, or you can put some hot glue as well, it's going to solve this issue. This is the foam that I used. I think I got it with one of my action cameras or one of the action cameras case. So just take a little bit and just put it on the sides of the camera. After you put the foam on the sides, don't forget to put this plastic part at the angle of the camera and then make sure these 4 screws are secured. Then I recommend to make sure that the buzzer unit is properly secured, put all the wiring inside, and then use some hot glue or change the sticky pad in order to secure it on the back of the quadcopter. The next thing you should do, in my opinion, is to use 3M dual lock both on the bottom of the quadcopter and on the battery itself. And I recommend to put some glue on the bottom of the dual lock, to make sure it's going to be secured. I'm going to do it later. And this 3M dual lock is going to make sure the battery is not going to fall off the quadcopter, because just this Velcro strap on its own is not going to hold. So using this 3M dual lock is going to make sure it's going to be properly secured. The next thing I'm going to do is to go through Betaflight settings, and then I'm going to take it outdoors and see how it performs with the included battery, and also these 2S and 3S batteries from G&B, and these 4S and 2S batteries from CNHL. I hope you will enjoy the rest of this video, and I'll see you in a bit in order to give you my conclusion. Unfortunately, the last flight of this quadcopter didn't end well, and either the motor or the EEC is burnt and this motor is just not functioning correctly. So I'll have to take everything apart in order to see what's wrong with this quadcopter. And it's really disappointing that after this crash, which wasn't that hard, the quadcopter is not functioning anymore. In my experience, these motors are not that great, and I think that Eachine should use better motors, especially because this quadcopter is not cheap. It costs around $160, and with this price tag, I think they should include higher quality motors. Again, I'm not sure if it's the 4-in-1 EEC controller's fault or the motors, but I'm going to find out soon, and then I'm going to let you know. In addition, after this crash, the file wasn't saved to the SD card, and you might need to press this button in order to stop the recording procedure in order to be saved properly, and that's not great, because if you're going to disconnect the battery from the quadcopter without using this button, you might risk damaging the file. So remember, after you finish the flight, to just press this button. What I really liked about this quadcopter is that it flew pretty fast, and the highlight of the quadcopter is actually its DVR recording. And even though it didn't save the file correctly after the crash, the quality was surprising, and it recorded pretty good videos at 720p 60 frames per second. And I think that the video quality was pretty much at par, or even a little bit surpassed the quality of this camera from Hawkeye, the Firefly Hawkeye camera. Another issue that I have, that after setting up the quadcopter, it just didn't function correctly. I had to go to the CLI and enter dump for the quadcopter to start walking. I'm not sure what caused this issue, but before entering dump, the accelerometer just refused to work, and luckily I could solve this issue, and just after entering dump, everything worked fine. In terms of FPV feed, even though I'm not sure if it's on 25 or 200 milliwatt, I think that the FPV was pretty good, and I didn't have a lot of glitches on my fetcher goggles. The ones that are present on the DVR weren't as noticeable when I flew the quadcopter, and I think this antenna performed pretty well. I really wish the arms were a little bit more stretched so it could fit 25-40 propellers. I tried to fit 25-40 propellers, but you can see that even these propellers, the 24-35 propellers, are almost touching the frame, so it just wasn't possible. So I think on their next version they should make it compatible with 2.5-inch propellers. So to sum it all up, I think that this quadcopter has a lot of potential. Unfortunately for me, it didn't last for a long time, and I really hope that just changing the motor is going to solve this issue, and I'm going to keep you updated in the description box pretty soon. As always, I thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and you find it useful. If you have any questions about this quadcopter, feel free to ask it on the comment section below. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already subscribed. See you on my next videos, and goodbye.